Well, hi, folks. I'm the Christian Whistleblower, Jeffrey Daugherty, and this is the Gospel Truth channel, the Gospel Truth broadcast. Sorry for the delay. Had an appointment that did not work out, so here we are, bringing you another installment of the American, or really what we call now the Western Book of the Dead. And this may be one of the more important series that we bring you, one of the more important teachings that we bring you, one of the more important, just really one of the most important things that we teach. And the reason why is because what the Western Book of the Dead does is it teaches you how to navigate the afterlife world. It teaches you how to navigate the afterlife world. And it teaches you what to do after you're dead. It teaches you what to do after you leave this lifetime. Hello, Mazen Brooks, Davey, Mr. Brown. Nice to see all of you. And this tells you what to do and how to do it after you leave this body. And there probably isn't anything that I can think of that would be more important than that. And it's very important for us to be able to know this and to understand this. And I think it's especially sobering and yet empowering to think that in the light of horrible things such as the Las Vegas tragedy, to know that, Christ talked about, don't fear the one that's able to just kill the body. Fear one that enslaves both body and spirit. And that's what we're talking about, is finding a way to be able to make certain that regardless of what happens with this body, that we are able to move on in the spirit with proficiency, with efficiency, and with effectiveness. Osaka to Scotland and around the world, it's the Fearless Gospel Truth Army. Absolutely, Davey. So that's what we're trying to do, is get us to the place where we're able, regardless of what happens in this life, to be able to prosper in the next. Now, that doesn't mean we're giving up on this life. Far from it. We are starving the old gods. Specifically, we're starving the old god that shall not be named, because he is the leading blood god, the blood god of Christianity, the blood god of Islam, the blood god of Judaism. And we're tracing his history. And I'll be back with that later on today to talk more about that whole thing and to give you an idea of what's really going on, what's really taking place. And he's making a big transition. Howard, I'm going to do your hands today as soon as I get off the air here. He's making a big transition. And we need to be responsive to that transition and aware of that transition. So let's go ahead and start looking at the Western Book of the Dead again. This is a series. And by the time this hits YouTube for real, not just live, I will have the correct number on it as far as the series that has what number we are in the series. And this is interesting because we're taught in Christianity and in Islam and in Judaism that there's an ultimate boogeyman. There's an ultimate boogeyman to be afraid of. There's an ultimate boogeyman to be worried about. Gospel Truth Army, yeah. There's an ultimate boogeyman to fear. And that's really not true, but it is true. There is no ultimate boogeyman outside of us. There is no ultimate boogeyman beyond us. And yet, it must be stated that we are our own ultimate boogeyman. And that's both comforting and challenging, because it's comforting to know that there's really not a boogeyman. It's comforting to know that there's really not some entity that we have to run from, some entity that is capable of hurting us, some entity that's capable of destroying us. It is good to know that there is no, hello, Warrior Princess. It is good to know that there is no boogeyman, and yet to know that we are the boogeyman, you can't run from. your boogeyman. And that is, in some ways, challenging. How do you run from your boogeyman, and where would you run to? Another problem that we have that hurts us in the afterlife is jealousy. And jealousy is such a basic problem. And jealousy becomes a basic problem because it's our essential self. And it's something that we're very familiar. And those that we have known in this life, we are going to experience echoes of them in the labyrinth. In other words, you may have developed some prototype people with whom you always experience the labyrinth, the inhabitants of your labyrinth, the pictures through which you will see your experience of the macro-dimensional domains of the labyrinth experienced in between lives. So it's possible. Yeah, give the boogeyman a hug. Embrace your own fears. Davey, that is so deep. I mean, how do you overcome fears? By embracing them. I've often said and believed, and I've often done the thing that I fear most. And by doing the thing that you fear most, you give yourself empowerment. And many times when you face down the thing that you fear most, you realize that it really wasn't that much to fear. But we do create in our own minds, we create these own little worlds, and we have these fantasy scenarios. Well, I'm going to talk to this person about this, and what if they say this, what if they say this? We run through all these fantasy scenarios, and while that can be helpful, it can also be damaging because it creates in our mind and in our psyche these straw people with whom we have to deal in the afterlife. So it is important to work through your analytical mind with me or someone else that knows how to do it, to clear yourself of these straw people, to clear yourself of these echoes, so you have a clear mind once you get into the afterlife, because the last thing you want to do is have to deal with anything more than what you have to deal with when you get to the afterlife. You don't want to have any inhabitants in your labyrinth that are not real inhabitants. You don't want to have pictures that distort the way you see your experience of the macro-dimensional domains. You don't want to have any extra players in your labyrinth in between lives. So you've got to be able to clear your mind, clear your analytical mind of echoes. What are you talking about, Jeff? Well, let me give you an example. You're in the labyrinth, you're in your afterlife, and now you see he in here with her, or she in here with him. However you get that one going in your considerations. At any rate, you'll notice that the fellow who comes to your rescue is always in her embrace, and he or she belongs to you. Why do you have to share her with him or him with her? You know that one moment in the labyrinth is at least one lifetime, and they spend with each other, all the while leaving you alone, frustrated, scared, lonely, and all you want is to be held and comforted. So jealousy pops up towards that which you wish to become one with. In other words, to become jealous towards two aspects of yourself. Wow. So the writer is contending that we actually see the male and female parts of our nature externalized. And oftentimes, when they're externalized in the form of people that we have known in this lifetime. And oftentimes, that can create some jealousy within your own spirit. Yeah, maybe the twin flame. You are your own twin flame. That's the big secret. That's the thing that nobody understands and realizes. You are your own twin flame. Your masculine essence and your feminine essence are the twin flame, the real twin flame. And everybody's looking for their twin flame on POF and Match.com and what are some of the other ones? eHarmony and all of these other ones. People are looking for their twin flame in online dating when your twin flame is you, the masculine part of you, the feminine part of you. So when Tom Cruise said, "You complete me," if he had been speaking to his feminine side, he would have been right. Plenty of fish. There you go. We won't comment on why Jen knows about Plenty of Fish. So when you see your male and your female externalized and you see them personalized, it can be very, very easy for you to become jealous. And you're becoming jealous of you. So jealousy between the externalized male and female personified by the echoes in your mind can cause you to have jealousy and keep you from accepting you so you can move on through the labyrinth. Isn't that amazing? The things that we don't know, and I think about this with ladies, but I'm sure it's very much with men as well. I mean, I used to be really jealous, but I got over it. Think of it. You're in the labyrinth, and then you see this, the personification of the female that you love the best, the personification of the male that is your personification of male, and you didn't know that it was really your male and your female, and you see these two hooking up, and you know they've been hooking up for a long time, and you get jealous, and you don't want to deal with them, you don't want to go to them, you want to reject them, but you're rejecting you. How crazy is that? You are your own twin flame. You complete you. You're male and you're female. That's revelation knowledge right there, folks. And when you get into the afterlife, if you don't get your silly echoes cleared from your analytical mind, and more of you need to get with me on that. It's a donation basis. I mean, if you drink 3 Starbucks a week, you're up about $15. That's like $60 in a month. How bad do you want it? But you got to realize that you got to clear the echoes out of your mind, because if you don't, you have the potential. And if you didn't know this, you'd be jealous of your own self. You'd reject yourself. And of course, if you reject yourself, you can't get through the labyrinth. That's amazing. Jealousy pops up towards that which you wish to become one with. This comes up a lot. This is incidentally one of the reasons for the taboo in the human sector against seeing another couple in union. Oh, that's interesting. So you're probably going to see some chicky wow between your female and your male. So you got to get ready for it. Yeah, I didn't mean to say starbeezy, but you know what I mean. So if you're feeling jealous, you got issues. If you're feeling scared, you got issues. It is the reptilian reactive mind, Lee, and that's what we're trying to teach people to keep down, because it jumps up and blocks out your analytical mind. It really does. It's just like that. Also, feeling threatened in the afterlife is another major problem in those macro dimensional domains. Your accumulated inclinations and tendencies, as well as attachments, being out of phase electromagnetically speaking with the general field, cause a localized field effect anomaly, and all these are picked up and vaporized by the cleansing radiations one by one, in the same way that a radiation bacteria in supermarket vegetables, that leaves you without any automatic habitual functions or thought forms to keep you going. Interesting. So you're laid bare. And if you haven't cleansed yourself out here and now, it's a new experience. It's an unsettling experience, and it causes delay and hindrance within the labyrinth. It goes like this. So your reactive mind comes up, and it attacks your analytical mind. Just like that. So you got to keep this thing down. Down, gecko. You got to keep it down. So it's like, I'm sorry. And it doesn't do anything. I should probably get a real puppet. And I'm going to get an L.A. Marzulli puppet and have a debate with him, because he won't debate me, but I'll debate the L.A. Marzulli puppet because he's just a puppet anyway. So you don't have any of this stuff you're used to leaning on. And if you're used to leaning on it, you're at a disadvantage in the afterlife. So just get rid of it here and now. It's simple. Once you've lost all of your automaticities, you now have the option of mechanically running on, making each moment happen, pushing in the future, letting go of the present, finding yourself faced with the necessity of creating the future moment by moment, event by event, if you're to have any time flow at all. And that's a hell of a lot of work. So in the macro dimensions, if you're depending upon automatic time flow, you're going to feel threatened by a static externalized state. And you're likely to get pretty exhausted by having to manually move the hands of the clock to create the effect of a passage of time. So in other words, you've got to learn to move yourself outside space and time. You've got to learn to get out of this meat suit. And once I get your analytical mind dialed in, I can teach you how to be 3 feet behind your head. I can teach you how to externalize like that, but I can't usually teach you how to externalize without getting your analytical mind cleared. And that takes probably 4 sessions with me on average. So is this a commercial? Yeah, it's a commercial. You got to get rid of your echoes. You got to get rid of your jealousies. You got to get rid of your concept. You got to get used to the concept of timelessness. The first time we work together is kind of like a get to know you session. It's kind of like getting to know you, understanding where you're coming from, understanding what you're doing, understanding what you're all about, and do some basic work, find out how your memory is. And then the next 3 sessions will be very intense, going back through your time track and fixing it up. And Jen, I sent you 2 invites on Google Hangout and didn't receive any response. So it looks like I was on there for about 15-20 minutes, and obviously we didn't hook up on that, but that's okay. I need to talk to you about something. Hello, Scotty Roberts. Scotty Roberts says maybe. I want my analytical mind cleared, maybe. It might leave holes. Now, the holes are there because it's not clear. That's when your little gecko jumps up and attacks your brain, and it creates a hole. So he eats a hole in your analytical mind. Yes, you. Creates a hole in your analytical mind. So we're trying to keep that gecko down. And once we repair the analytical mind, the holes fill in and you have a complete record. All right. So if you expect to be a survivor in the macro dimensional domains of the labyrinth, and I hope you do, that's what this is all about, making you a survivor in the macro dimensional domains of the labyrinth. Not escape. Escape is not the object. I'll have to read more about that. You'll just have to practice being and functioning in the macro dimensions, getting used to all the light, sounds, and radiations. And you'll have to work on your tendencies towards anger, jealousy, hatred, violence, unconscious reaction, and particularly exhaustion and fear. What did I just say? What did I just say? And I did not write this book. And I'll be frank with you, I haven't read on beyond what we've read. And I will say this too, it's another commercial. If I can check out your palm in a full reading before or along with your LIFETRACK work. So now you're talking about 5 sessions, really, if you include a palm thing. And whatever you feel that those are worth, I mean, it's really not that much of an investment. It's less than an investment than a real nice dinner out with a loved one or one you want to love. Since we're talking about chicky wow wow, right? And that's what the LIFETRACK repair and analysis is all about, is practicing functioning in the macro dimensions, or getting you ready to practice functioning in the macro dimensions. So maybe the full thing of getting you repaired and getting you to where you're able to get 3 feet behind your head experientially, proficiently, and at will. So maybe you're talking 7 or 8, probably 7 sessions total. And if you did it every week, you're talking about 7 weeks in a row, a little boot camp. I was in Air Force boot camp for 7 weeks. So learn how to function in the macro dimensions, getting used to the light, sounds, and radiations. Because once you start getting out of your body, I'm telling you, man, once you get out, it's a different kind of thing. And it is something that does take some getting used to. It is some stuff that does take and some getting acclimated to. And then through the life track, your tendencies towards anger, jealousy, hatred, violence, unconscious reaction, exhaustion, and fear are being weeded out. And right now, our tendencies towards violence and fear, we're starving the blood gods, and we're getting ourselves out of that mindset right now. Then there's your personal relationships. Where are we? 20 minutes. Learning to let go of all human feelings of ownership. Wow, that's a big one. Without destroying the relationships you are maintaining in the human dimension, gaining the ability to have relationships without attachment, but with honor and integrity. Wow. Now we're getting into true love. Do you know what true love is? True love is true love is true love is wanting the best for the other person, regardless of its effect on you. So true love is, if you are, let's say that you are, and it's having a relationship without attachment. It's having a relationship without ownership. Our typical Western thought is, she's my wife, he's my husband, and there's an implied ownership there. There's definitely an implied attachment there. And you've got to get to the point where you realize, I think the whole husband-wife thing is skewed. I think marriage is a sham, a travesty, and a mockery. I think marriage wasn't created by the Christ. I mean, being together is cool, but being linked together in some legal process that, I mean, there's a contract. The contract implies ownership. When you buy and sell things, there's contracts. So when you enter into this marriage contract, there's this implicit and really explicit within a marriage contract that you own her, she owns you, you own him, he owns you, whatever your flavor. And it is an ownership and it is an attachment. It is a man-made construct. And we have to get out of that, and Lee Veltman will love this. It really is a suppressive personality. When you want to own someone, when you want to control someone, and when you want them to do as you want them to do, that is a suppressive mindset, meaning that you are wanting to control their growth, their development, their expression of their self. Not to mention all of the money that's made when marriages go south. And not to mention that you got to pay more taxes when you get married too. It's a sham. It's a travesty, mockery. A travesty, a sham, and a mockery. And I don't know, I tried it 3 times. It didn't work. Well, I was married for 16 years, and then the second 2 didn't add up to even 1 year. That's a statement right there, isn't it? But you've got to learn to have relationships without attachment. You've got to learn to have relationships without ownership. And that is honor and integrity. Being that if I'm in a relationship with a lady or a man, that's not my thing, but if that's your thing, I'm trying to help you understand. And this person meets somebody, Scotty, if this person meets somebody that is better for them than you are, and it becomes apparent, you should be willing as a person of integrity to say, you know what, I get it. He's better for you than I am. She's better for you than I am. Go in peace. That takes integrity. That takes a tenacity of spirit. That takes no ownership. That takes no attachment. That's true love. True love is wanting the best for the other person, even if it's not the best for you. Even if you think it's not the best for you, because it may very well be the best for you. And people are talking about marriage. You know, marriage might be your thing, and maybe it works out for you. But I'm saying, in general, it's a Travis Schumachery, and it's a fake institution created by Western thought that hasn't done much good for us. Oh, Jen, you really hit it. You do have to press that. You do have to learn that with your kids as well. So if you're in a place where you've got this attachment and this ownership idea, you're going to have trouble in the labyrinth. And how crazy it is that you're jealous of your own two halves. That's really something. Finally, you may have a hard time finding out that you are in the macro dimensions until you wake up suddenly in shock, only to realize that you had been in the macro dimensional domains, but through inattention and exhaustion, you have involuntarily taken rebirth in your customary human primate form, or whatever form you're currently enjoying, perhaps a bookworm. So a lot of times we end up back here unintentionally, and that's really the whole thing. I have ideas and opinions about what you should do, but I am trying to get you to the place where you are able to act with intention in the afterlife, where when you leave this physical meat suit, you're able to direct your own way afterwards. If you want to come back, that's your decision. If you want to move on, that's your decision. I want you to be able to do it with intention and not just accidentally wind up back here. And not wind up back here because you were directed by some other entity, and not wind up in a soul farm because you don't know what's going on. One way you may solve this perennial dilemma, and we're probably going to close with this because this is such deep stuff. One way you may solve this perennial dilemma is to identify with the labyrinth guide. This is a little scary for me, but we'll see what he has to say about this. Don't trust your senses. Everyone, anyone, and everything and anything could be the guide, the gorilla of your dreams. Try merging with anything you come across. That telephone, could that be the guide? Or the TV set, is that it? I don't agree with that. I want you to get beyond guides. I think he spends all this time talking about being autonomous in the afterlife and then tells you to hook up with a guide. Well, let's look at it this way. If you've been doing your work here and now, and if your analytical mind has been cleared, and if you've cleared yourself of all of your echoes, and if you have cleared yourself of all your jealousies, and if you've cleared yourself and have a good, complete analytical mind, and the gecko is beat down, then you probably have the blink that is sufficient to recognize if there is a guide out there that will be an ally to you that you can leverage and use. And you'll know that, no, I don't want, that's just the gecko trying to sneak back in. I see you, gecko. It's trying to sneak back in. You say no. Is the guide our twin? Could be. That's my key right there, is guide yourself. Yeah, I think it is hypocritical a bit too. 7P. So that's some deep stuff. Let's see if I can go back and get some. Melissa, it's up to you if this is your last time here or not. Let's see if we can get some questions. Yeah, unsubscribe, resubscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed. Your twin flame is your other half. Not looking, I quit. I need to love me first before I can love anyone else. You complete you. You're right, Jesse McCartney. If you're not happy with yourself, you can't be happy with anyone else. Abso-damn-lutely. I always knew I was my own twin flame. You are your own twin flame. I have a song stuck in my head. Okay. Can you do that again, Jeff? I'm not sure what it was, but I hope I did it again. We are mammals after all. I'm laughing at Jeff, not at my last statement. I'll show you something funny here in just a minute. Want my analytical mind cleared? Maybe. Scotty Roberts is awesome. The palm reading was spot on, says Jen Morris. Thank you. She had a full reading, and she said it was uncannily on, and I appreciate that. It is what it is. Selfless empathy. I agree, Ransom. That's very well put. Marriage is nuts. It is a man-made construct. Man-made construct. Divorce is very expensive, designedly so. I have to remind my hubby that he does not own me. Attachment is the root of all suffering. Ransom is getting deep in here. I was oppressed by wives too. Yeah, that's true. Marriage is almost like a shortcut, a way to avoid the inner male-female conflict. Wow, that's deep too. Now we're getting into maritime law. Two eyes, big bearded face, interesting stuff. So there you go, folks. There you go. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Wow. So that's what it's all about. That's the gospel truth about the American or the Western Book of the Dead, and what we need to do to get ourselves to the place that we're able to manipulate and navigate the afterlife state. All this time, all these things were taught, and no one ever thought to teach us about how to go where we want to go after we have left this life. Probably the most important teaching that there can be. Ransom says single and married sucks. Well, Jimmy Swaggart once said to me, he said, Jeffrey, it's better to be single wishing you were married than married wishing you were single. How about that? We don't need sleep when we're dead, Iowa X. We don't need sleep when we're dead. I will be live tonight. Wayne Steiger and I have the Wednesday midweek report at 9 p.m. Eastern. I have my regular 11 p.m. Eastern. Jimmy Swaggart also told me, the only time I ever heard him say a bad word, he said, remember this, no matter how hot she is, somebody somewhere is sick of her shit. And that's true too. And that's true in the reverse, men, for men as well. Very, very well. And I'm sure I'm going to have some stuff between then and now as well. And I shouldn't cuss because YouTube's getting tough on cussers. So we're going to stop doing that. And Scotty Roberts can maybe one day teach us about the hot scale. Oh, yeah, that's a good scale right there. That was funny when he showed that to me. I laughed. I had a hearty belly laugh. So there you go, folks. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, your friendly neighborhood Christian whistleblower, and we're here to try to help you. The reality is, folks, that either the world's gone crazy or you have. I'm here to help you decide which and to take appropriate actions afterward. It's all about staying fearless. It's all about unindoctrinating yourself. And really, it's all about loving you because there's no original sin. There's only the spark of divinity within. Loving others because they're in the same condition you're in. Being excellent to each other. Staying fearless and unindoctrinating yourself. That's what it's all about. I'm here to help any way I can. I remain your humble, friendly, well, at least friendly, Christian whistleblower. We'll talk to you, your friendly neighborhood Christian whistleblower, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Starve the blood gods. No praying to the God of Christianity, Islam, or Judaism. No mentioning of those names that shall not be mentioned. Starve the blood gods. We'll see you again real soon.